All right, good afternoon to you, dear listener. It's another beautiful Monday. It's another time for Mindscope. I am Segilola. Emmanuel, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, my sister. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm good.
Happy New Month.
Cool. Oh, yes, today is the first Monday in the month of August.
The first edition for the month.
Yes, the first edition. Oh, yeah, the year is running really fast. But thank God. We thank God for everything. All right, DJ Magic, I hail you too. Oh, good afternoon once again, dear listener. I don't know why I'm saying good afternoon. How many times am I going to say this? Is there a reason? There must be something behind this good afternoon.
We are still in the afternoon.
We are still there.
Allowed.
Yes, it's a long one. I mean, a long one. Outside, the weather is quite cool. And
Very
it's as
calm.
if the rain is coming. Oh, good news. Good rain coming. Also, for today, we are looking at, I would say, an inspiring topic that applies to the students. Now that they are on holidays, we need to reach out to them, and of course their parents too. We are looking at how to find out the truth about drugs. There's so much going on about substance abuse, and it's very, very important we talk to our dear ones, our students, our children, and we need to help them. That's how to put it. Help them to, deal with this menace of substance abuse. And to discuss this today on Mindscope, we have very important personalities in the studio. One of them, she is quite a familiar face. She's the beautiful Blessing Igbani. Blessing, you're welcome once again to Mindscope.
Thank you very much.
Blessing, she's a certified social worker. And with Blessing is an amazing gentleman, Mr. Oluwafemi Silas. Mr. Oluwafemi Silas, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. A child protection advocate. Oh, wow, that's interesting. And Stella too here, the pretty face. She's also here taking pictures and the video. All right, let's talk about this whole matter. We are talking about substance abuse. I want you to imagine a student listening to us. We are reaching out to them and reaching out to the parents too. And so how would you explain substance abuse to a student? We're looking at primary and secondary school students right now. Blessing, let's go with you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll start by saying that substance abuse is actually the excessive use of psychoactive drugs such as alcohol, pain medication, and illegal drugs. And of course, so that you could actually ask, what does she mean by that? Okay, there's a difference between substance abuse and then drug misuse. Okay. Let's take, for instance, your doctor prescribe, you're feeling unwell, and your doctor asks you to take, this medication, take it 3 times a day. And then he tells you, and then you take the medication maybe 4 times or 8 times a day, as against 3 times a day. You've abused the drug.
Okay.
Now, if your doctor told you, take this drug once a day, take it before meal, or you ended up taking that drug after a heavy meal, you've misused it. You didn't use it the right way. Yes, you used it, but you didn't use it the right way. So same thing applies to substance abuse. When you take these medications, or you take drugs, or you take alcohol in a way that you're not supposed to. So start with, if you're not up to 18, you're not allowed to take alcohol. You're not allowed to take, hard drugs, so to say. But within that, below that age, if you do, you've abused the drug. When you take it excessively, it's when you take it excessively. I don't want to start measuring the names of these drugs that I take. Mr. Silas will actually go into details. But when you take a particular medication excessively, you've abused the drug.
Okay, Mr. Silas, please, could you continue from where she stopped?
I would like to define drug abuse this way. It's the use of chemicals for the purpose of creating pleasurable effects on the brain.
Use of chemicals
for the purpose of creating pleasurable effect on the brain. Our brain is wired to want us to repeat experiences that make us feel good. And when you use psychoactive drugs, it secretes a chemical called dopamine. This dopamine gives you an intense feeling of wanting to take the drug over and over again. Now, let me go further by saying that drugs are classified into 3 categories. We have depressants. This cause depressant of the brain. We have stimulants. This cause the stimulation of the brain.
Okay.
And we have hallucinogen. This cause hallucination. Let me go further by saying that there are 3 ways you can administer drug. You can take it orally in form of a pill. You can take it intravenously in form of an injection. And you can also inhale it or snort it. Those are the basic way that drugs that have been abused are administered.
Now, looking at our frame as students, so could you just help us, which of those drugs or where do they fit in here when it comes to substance abuse? And why do the students abuse such?
Yeah, because we are dealing with students and children, I want us to know that there is a law in Lagos State called the Child Rights Act that forbid adults from sending children to buy drugs. Most people are not aware of this law, and there are punishments attached when you contravene this law.
And that includes alcohol, right?
Yes. Now, I want to read from you. I have with me here the law of Lagos State, Child Rights Act. And I'm going to read from section 22 of that law. Section 22 of that law. Section 22 of that law states clearly, subsection 1, it said a person must not employ, expose, or involve a child in the production or distribution of narcotic drugs and drug psychotropic substances. Psychotropic substances are drugs that affect the mind, it affects the emotions, and it affects behavior. Okay. I need to break it down so that our listening audience can comprehend it. Now, subsection 2, it said a person must not employ, expose, or involve a child in the use of narcotic drug or psychotropic substances. Any adult that contravene this law will face the full wrath of the law. But because we have laws that we don't implement in this part of the world, we don't enforce the law. That's why people use children to buy drugs and expose them to drugs. You will agree with me that even in primary school now, you have pupils in primary 5 and 6 take marijuana, they take alcohol. And children from family...
But why?
Because they have been exposed to it either by their friends or their parents. There are people who come from family where drugs have been abused. There is the tendency for that child to take after the father or after the mother.
And aside peer pressure.
Aside peer pressure. There are many reasons why people take drugs. Peer pressure is just one of them. Psychological disorder can lead to drug abuse. When people are traumatized, when people are grieved, or when people are going through severe financial constraint, they can resort to drug taking.
We are talking about children.
Yes,
here.
Yes.
And so you're talking about grief.
Yes.
So a child could actually experience a particular situation and may want to use a substance.
Yes, especially children from broken homes.
Okay.
Where there is violence in the family, where there is parental neglect. Now, the risk factor is there for that child to take drug.
And the reason could be that pleasurable effect you're talking about.
We advise people don't start drug because once you start, to stop is always difficult. Don't start drug. Once you start, it's always difficult to stop.
Blessing, as a social worker, so you've been involved with schools, talking to them, especially the students, on how to tackle this menace of substance abuse. Could you just share some of your experiences with us?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first of all, I will say this. Most time when you go to school, when you talk about how to actually prevent, drug abuse, we actually try to look at it from different angles. One from the family, one from the school, the community, and then the government. But when you come to the school, you observe that most times when these children actually engage in drug abuse is during that peak period is actually during the break time, and then of course after school hours. And then we look at how do we engage students during those times.
Break time and school after school hours. But why? I'm just wondering. Okay, that's their time, play time.
That's the play time. Okay. That's when they have to themselves, when they can actually, interact and engage in this activity. Okay. And we look at yourself, why are you actually engaging in such? Some will just tell you they are just curious. They just want to know how it tastes. A is taking it, so why can't I just take it? It makes you feel good. It gives you this, boldness. So we just want to partake in it. They don't really have the full consequences of their action, but because A is taking it, Mr. Friend A is taking it, they want to take it. So they want to feel among. Some are curious. Yes, there's peer pressure, but some are just curious, like, how does it taste? How does it feel? They want to have a feeling of it. Mr. Salias in particular had a case he handled where a student actually brought some drugs to school. Brought some drugs, a secondary school student brought some drugs to school. Of course, there was a way he actually handled, that particular case. So when we're looking at the preventive measure, we're telling actually school owners that during this peak time we've identified that this is actually when they engage in this activity. Keep them engaged. Put some measures, monitor what they do. Okay, there was a time we went to a particular school, and then during break time, we know that's when they do all of this. A teacher was actually in the class, and you just hear the student saying, Mrs. Ade, won't you go to your class? Should I help you carry your bag to the staff room? I said, no, don't worry, thank you. So they actually want to move the teacher out. They keep persuading her, it's time for you to go. Let me help you do this. Let me help you do that. Because they know they want to do something. They know they want to engage in this. And of course, she knows what she was doing. She was just observing. Because of course, we've actually educated them on, their time.
Maybe the symptoms. What are those things that the parents and even teachers can look out for to know whether a child is involved in substance abuse?
Okay, maybe I can come in at this point.
Yes.
One of the symptoms is that you begin to see the child asking for excessive money. Because the little money they have, they use it in buying drugs. So they have what we call financial drain. They are always asking for money. Another sign is that you see that they want to keep to themselves. They don't want to associate with other people. There is what we call drug culture. Addicts have their own culture. The mode of dressing, the mode of mercy. For example, if an addict wants to buy tramadol, he will not tell you he wants to buy tramadol. He will call it TM. If they want to buy marijuana, they will not tell you they want to buy marijuana. They will call it MJ or Mary Jane. When they are talking about Mary Jane, you don't know they are talking about marijuana. So there's what we call drug culture, the mode of dressing, their language, their sign language. If they will tell you they are going to Aso Rock, they are going to joint where they want to smoke, but they call it Aso Rock. If you are not, if you don't interact with them, I interact with a lot of addicts, and just like she was saying, I had an experience. I went to a school, and you see, in Lagos State Public School, we have guidance and counseling teachers.
Okay.
Now, a boy came to school with a packet of cigarettes and marijuana. So they have to seize those drugs from him, and he ran away. How did they find out? I think they check his school bag, and they discover from the school bag.
Good. So those are one of the ways.
Yes. Yeah? At another school, another girl came to school with a bottle of alcohol inside her school bag, and it was discovered. Now, to handle cases like this, you need to do what we call in social work, social investigation. Okay. You need to go back to the family and find out the family the child is coming from. That's what we call social investigation in social work. Okay. Now, you need to know maybe the guy is going through some hard times. You need to know maybe the child is from a broken home. You need to know maybe there are peer pressure in that community.
So it's not necessarily expulsion or expelling the child, or, that's what I'm looking at here.
In fact, I don't advise government to arrest drug addicts. They need help. The people government should arrest is the drug baron who sell this drug to make money. And that's where I'm going to emphasize about how to deal with that. We have the regulatory agency, which is NAFDAC. Now, NAFDAC and NDLEA and the custom must synergize to fight the supply chain. Most of our borders are porous. So most of these illicit drugs comes through the border. So we need to fund NAFDAC and other government agencies to attack the supply chain. Once the supply chain is dealt with, then the demand for it will go down. But as long as we get people bringing in these drugs, the demand will continue to be on the increase.
But how can the school authorities now put things in check? Blessing. What do you think they should do?
Well, I think the school authority, they just need to, we talk about sex education and it's being taught in school now. We also need to look into drug education too in schools. So we have to start from there, educate the kids on the dangers of drug abuse. By the time they know, the more you know, you add better. Okay. So they need to do that. Widespread awareness about the dangers of drug. The school needs to do that. And of course, the parents also have a role to play. Yes, they say charity begins at home. The parents also have a role to play in the sense that you need to know your child more.
Know your child more.
And know the kind of people your child associates with.
Very true. The friends.
Yeah, the friends they keep.
Children.
And then you also need to teach your child on how to solve life issues. Problem solving skills. Teenagers have lots of issues, emotional trauma, sometimes based on relationship, at that age. Yes, it happens. So they just you need to equip them on how to solve this problem.
Or else they might find safety
elsewhere.
In drugs.
In the wrong hands. And you also need to educate them on how to say no and the various ways to say no.
And talking about saying no, I need to come out here. Yes, say no. But there are consequences for saying no. You know that. When we look at the aspect of peer pressure, for instance, where every other person is doing it, and now they are, reaching out to one in particular, and this one wants to say no and stand out. But there will be consequences. I'm talking about, the temporary pain or possibly rejection.
Yeah.
Do you understand what we are saying? But in the long run, you're on the hair. So we need to enlighten these children in the sense that, look, when you say no, yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But in the long run, the results will come out good. Mr. Silas, can you take it up from there?
Yes. One of the reasons why young people and teenagers go into drug is because they want to fit in, what we call social acceptance. And you need to deal with that. Okay. Now, she mentioned about the fact that you must keep the right company. If you keep the company of drug addicts, sooner or later they will introduce you to the drug. So, and because young people want to feel belong, they want to be accepted among their peers. That is the major problem. So what do we do to deal with that? We need a lot of counseling. We need a lot of education. Let me take it from school. The school must come up with preventive measures.
Okay.
Drug education must be inculcated into the curriculum of our schools.
So prevention is better than cure. That's what we are saying now.
Once students are well informed in school, once they are well educated about the danger and consequences of abusing drug, they will stay away from it.
Are there channels whereby, for instance, in a school, in a class, a child maybe outside the school, someone is reaching out to the child, to get into drugs? Is it possible for a child, can he come up to a teacher or somebody he can open up to? Are there channels like that? That's what I'm looking at. Whereby the child can actually confess. This is, parents, fine. But at times the child might not even be able to tell the father or the mother.
You see, we encourage schools to train their teachers on how to handle drug addicts. A lot of training. There is a write-up by United Nations Office on Drug and Crime on school preventive measures. I will encourage every school owner to go to their website and download that preventive measure. It is specifically targeted at schools.
Okay.
When you download that information, you can now put the right strategies in place in your school to prevent children. Then we talk about safe environment for children. Now you find out that some schools are located very close to brothels. You find out that even in some school, after school hours, people go around our school to smoke. We shouldn't encourage that. The environment must be safe for the child. Care and love must be shown to the child in school and at home. Then let's get back to the community level, because we are talking about solution. Now in Lagos State, we have a lot of CDAs. The community can come together and organize programs to sensitize youth in their community about the danger and consequences of drug abuse. In my own community, I stay at Ayobo Ikpaja SCDA. After the lockdown, my community, which is Olorun-Tedu Community Association, we mobilize the youths, and I organize a seminar for them to educate them, inform them, and enlighten them about the dangers and consequences of drug abuse. So at the community level, we can synergize with NGOs and try to bring youths and teenagers together to continue to sensitize them about the dangers of drug abuse.
Now they are on holidays. As we round up, they are on holidays. Yeah. So how can parents get involved? Some of those kids are now they're attending summer school, and most of them possibly they'll be at home. So Blessing, how can parents get involved as we round up?
Yeah, this is actually the time planning to take out time and know your kids, educate them more. And there's something called safety conversation. Okay. Whereby you can actually encourage your child to open up to you. And you tell your child, whatever you say here and now will not be used against you in the future or in the present. So the child can actually open up to you. Oh yes, I tasted this, and you take it off from there. You don't shame a child when a child actually open up to you at this level. You take it off from there. Okay, you try to encourage the child. You try to expose the child to I'll actually suggest this. If you have a ward who has actually tasted drug, try and take such child to the psychiatric hospital, where you have the department that handles drug addicts. Yeah. By the time they see the effects, they see it live. Sometimes when you tell people things, they just take it and say, mommy is just exaggerating. But by the time they see with their eye, they will understand the implication of what they are trying to get into.
And that's why parents, please show good examples. Because you can't even teach what you don't have. Sure. That's it. And for parents too, we're talking about education. Mr. Silas, are there, free sites they can help their words to be informed on substance abuse?
Yeah, for us, we distribute booklets.
Oh, booklets. Okay.
We go to school, we show film about drug addicts.
Okay.
Before and after drug. We have booklets that contains information on various drugs, from marijuana to cocaine to crack cocaine to painkillers.
Does Lagos State have a site like that?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay. Not sure. Because it's all about informing ourselves on how we can creatively engage these children.
Yes.
In line with what Blessing said earlier, most times the peak periods where they get themselves involved in these drugs, break time and after school hours. And it's because they're not properly engaged. So right now they're on holidays. Please, parents, let's do the needful. I want to appreciate both of you. In fact, and Stella, do well done and good job you're doing. Your social media platforms as we round up. Blessing.
Yeah.
Kick Against Drug Abuse.
Okay.
And Stampout Drug Abuse.
Okay, great.
On Facebook.
On Facebook. Yes. Stampout Drug Abuse.
And our email is stampoutdrugabuse@gmail.com.
Wow. Emmanuel, thank you very much. And DJ Magic, Olabisi, I know BC is around too. God bless you. Have a very wonderful week. I am Segilola.